So now I want to show you how you can use ChatGPT as teachers in order to create different types of learning material, learning activities, etc. Actually, you can make a lot of things with ChatGPT. If you're still not familiar with it, so make sure to register and try it out. This is the free version that I'm going to show you, and it works completely fine. And keep in mind that your students probably already know about it and use it. So for the next school year, it will be really good to figure out how in your classroom such an instrument can be used in a constructive way. So let's start now with a 50-minute lesson for the Pythagorean theorem. You can add a really detailed question or request for the ChatGPT. As much as more detail you give it, it gives better answers, but still I will go with something somewhat general. So now it will write this 50-minute lesson. And how would it do it? Well, keep in mind that it has access to all kinds of internet content. So basically you can think about ChatGPT and other such chatbots as a new way to browse the internet or a new way to search through the internet. What this basically means is that ChatGPT, actually most people call it a language model artificial intelligence, which means that it basically combines words really well. So if you are wondering if it will give you a good answer to what you ask ChatGPT, think about if there are enough texts on the internet that will actually be helpful for the chatbot to make sense of what you're asking it to do. Now I want to show you how you can expand this lesson plan to get more resources that might be useful. So for instance, gather the students for a class discussion to summarize the key points covered in the lesson. Let's see now. I will ask ChatGPT to give me talking points for the following activity. So, meaning that any kind of discussions you want to have with your students, you can ask ChatGPT to give you a list of questions that might be useful for this discussion. So let's see, it's quite detailed, so I'll not be able to go through it, but basically it gives us hints as to what kind of aspects of the Pythagorean theorem we can ask students about. Now, I decided to pick the Pythagorean theorem because I've often heard the sentence, well, why do students learn the Pythagorean theorem? Why do we study this at all, etc., etc.? Why would we use it, and when will we use it in life? So a good way to use ChatGPT is to ask it. So let's see, give me examples of real life uses of the theorem. Make them interesting for students, let's say. So basically it will give us insight into how some careers might use the Pythagorean theorem, or how in some technologies the theorem is used, but again it's something that is often a hard question in the classroom. Why are we learning a particular concept? So ChatGPT can make these conversations a bit more structured and a bit more easier for us teachers as well. I am myself not always sure how to answer this question to my students, but ChatGPT could nevertheless help us. Now, let's say that you want to make it a bit more interesting or more narrative-like. Let's say, how would Pythagoras explain the importance of his theorem to children? Let's see now. You can also ask ChatGPT to make conversations between different scientists or historical figures, as long as you give it a good amount of detail. It could make the conversations interesting. What I mean here is that if you, for instance, want to compare two scientists, it would be good to add to the prompt or to the request which topic they should discuss, or should they argue about it, or should they have a normal conversation about it without any hard arguments, or etc., etc. So you can make all kinds of scripts, let's say, even if you want to have a, let's say, a 3-minute lecture in front of your students with something interesting about the theorem or any other topic, you could also ask the chatbot to write a short speech, so to speak. Now, of course, we can also use it for more simple requests, such as, let's see, make a test with multiple choices for the theorem. And of course, I mean, if you want open questions, it will give you open questions, etc., etc. You see how it goes. It basically, again, combines words and ideas really well, as long as it has enough databases from the internet from which it can draw its conclusions and its results. Let's see now. By the way, keep in mind that if you want a really long test, you can also ask to write 20 questions, 50 questions, 100 questions. It doesn't really matter. Sometimes it might stop at some point. Keep in mind that this is probably because a lot of people are using it right now. So if you just ask the chatbot to continue, it will try to make sense what you mean, and it will continue. Let's see what it will write now. Okay, more tests. But the point was that if it stops at some sentence, you can make it finish the sentence or the whole paragraph, etc., etc. Another thing you should know is that you can ask ChatGPT to edit some of those texts. Let's say you might ask it to use simple terms, or you can ask him to use more complex terms, to write it as if for kindergarten children or for professors, etc., etc. So you can make it write all kinds of text, or at least try to write all kinds of text. Keep in mind that, of course, sometimes if you let's say want too complex or too specific things from the chatbot, it can sound really what's the word, persuasive, really authoritative about not quite true things. Some people also call this hallucinating, when the chatbot just talks nonsense. For instance, sometimes if you ask it to tell you more about what's written in a book, it could end up just creating new chapters of the book and creating a new storyline just to sound authoritative enough. Okay, I hope that this was interesting for you. Of course, you could imagine how many other uses it has. Again, it could create games, it can create steps that students need to take in order to make a project, a scientific project. If you ask it to make you scientific projects, it will also give you a lot of ideas. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope that you try it out. Really, the best way to learn how to use ChatGPT is just to play with it, just to ask it if you wish meaningless questions, and you will get how it works. It really takes some time. Keep in mind that, again, all kinds of internet content that can be found in large databases is resource for the chatbot, meaning that it can create also theater plays, it can create songs, poetry, movie scripts, etc., etc. Whatever is in written text. Of course, there are other AIs which work with images, videos, etc. To be honest, next school year will probably be a bit more exciting and a bit more stressing as well. But still, it's not something that we can just ban from schools, in the sense that this really is a new way to search the internet, and it's up to us as teachers, and our students, of course, should participate in this to figure out how to use this in a really meaningful way, so that we learn with it and we don't just use it to avoid learning. Thank you.